birthday. He would have been 92 years old. There's so much for us to discuss on this great day. Waiting for you guys to come in. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Waiting for you all to come in. Good evening. So as you all know, my name is Evangeline Byers. I'm a candidate for president of TW Local 100. I am bringing you a report today about what's going on within our local, and also greetings on today, because today is Martin Luther King's birthday. He would have been 92 years old. We owe so much to him for his contributions to the labor movement. We actually would really have no labor movement in the United States if it was not for Martin Luther King. And if it wasn't for Martin Luther King, we wouldn't have the labor movement that we have and that we benefit from today. So we are the legacy of his work, right? So even what I'm doing now, running for president of Local 100, having the ability to do as a Black woman in 2021, I owe so much to his life, his legacy, his vision, his tenacity, his fortitude, and I just honor him today for all that he did to ensure that we would have this right to exist, have right to a right to have access to organized labor, to be municipal workers, and just to have a right to take care of our families in this country. It's because of his vision and his tenacity and his fearlessness, which ultimately he paid the ultimate price with his life. Without him, we would not have that. So I owe everything to him today for what he has done. And his life is to be celebrated and to be honored. We're always to reverence and revere his name and protect those who stood and made a way for us, a real way for us. If you go and you watch some videos, I would, encourage you guys. I'm an avid reader. I don't know if you guys read, but there are books on the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, the life of Martin Luther King. If you are not a reader and you like videos, you can always just click on YouTube and look at the March on Washington and all the people that he brought out from around the world and around the country to come out and fight for organized labor and our right to exist. They call it the March on Washington, but it was not only the March on Washington. The purpose of that march was the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. At that time in history, we still were not free, even though we were emancipated. We still were not free. We still was living under the tyranny of Jim Crow and so many other atrocities and abuses that were going on during that time. So it's because of him that we exist. Moving right along, I just want you guys to know that from now on, weekly, I'll be bringing you guys an address to talk about what's going on within our local, a full scope of what's going on in our local, not what's just going on in my department, which is RTO, but what is happening throughout the system. We really need to understand that we are under attack, not only by what has happened. We expect the blows that come to us from the MTA, because that's just the system that we work under, right? But as far as our union is concerned, that is the tool and the vehicle to protect us from the misuses and abuses of our employer. And at this point, that is not happening. We are experiencing a record high when it comes to grievance and discipline. And this is not only happening just in RTO, it's happening in MOW, it's happening in buses, it's happening throughout the whole entire system. When it comes to grievance and discipline, the numbers are up, right? And so we understand that things happen and everything else, but the process and how this is supposed to be played out is being compromised, right? People were showing up for step 1 hearings. They're not even having step 1 hearings. The step 1 hearings are being emerged from step 1 to step 2, and everything is just being pushed along, and it's not the way it's supposed to be happening. I have been giving people copies of the Book of Discipline, a copy of the rule book, and also the Civil Service Procedural Manual, so that you will know how to prepare to represent yourself if you find yourself having to go to Broadway and having to present yourself before labor relations. It's very important that if you need those manuals, I have been sending them out. I've also been encouraging people to share them. So if anybody is listening to this and you have people who are your friends, colleagues, you need to get them those materials. If you would like for me to give them to you, all you have to do is simply put your email and your phone number in my inbox, and I will make sure that you get those manuals. Currently, I want you guys to understand something else. This is an election cycle that we're in right now, right? And now that we're in this cycle, you have to be very vigilant about what's happening in your division meetings. You have to show up for your meetings, because if you're not showing up, they're pulling a whole lot of trickery right now with changing the times of meetings. They're just trying to move so many things forward that is to our disadvantage. So just to give you a highlight of something that's going on, I got an email, which I attended the division meeting last time in MTA bus. There was a vote to change the meeting times. However, before any type of when it comes to meetings, if there's gonna be a meeting, if there's gonna be a time change for your meeting or any type of change procedurally to how things are supposed to happen, it's supposed to be put on the agenda, right? Once it's put on the agenda, it's supposed to be posted to where you can see that this is what's going to be happening in your division meeting, right? From that agenda, you show up to your division meeting and there's a vote that is held on whatever the issue is. Now, I know in RTO, the way it usually functions when we vote on something, if we vote on something in the AM meeting and it doesn't pass in the AM, but it passes in the PM meeting, whatever it was that we wanted to happen, it falls to the wayside because it did not pass in the AM and the PM consecutively. It has to happen in both meetings. However, I was informed today that they're saying now that it doesn't have to happen it doesn't have to, for something to pass, it doesn't have to take place in both, and it can happen in the morning. So let me be clear. In the morning, if you vote on changing the time of your meeting, right? If it passes in the morning, but it doesn't pass in the evening, they're now taking the numbers of the votes, the no votes from the morning, and adding the no votes to the evening. And the no votes and the yes votes from the morning and the yes votes from the evening, and combining them together. And that's how things are being changed. However, this does not work to the benefit of the membership. Let's get into why. In buses, you have a lot of runs that start at 6 o'clock in the morning and end at 8 in the evening, right? Or even past 8 in the evening. These are like really long runs. You have people who start in the morning and don't get off until after, and don't get off until late in the evening, right? So they miss the morning and sometimes they can't make the evening. Or no, if they get up in the evening, it gives them enough time to make the 8 o'clock meeting so that they can basically participate and have a say in what's going on in their department. What is happening right now is that the meeting time has been switched from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., even though the members in the AM meeting voted that meeting time was not to change. They said no. In the PM meeting, they're saying that the people in the PM meeting said yes. However, the numbers are funny. Now they're saying 14 people said no and 15 people said yes. Now, this is questionable, and at their meeting tomorrow, they're going to handle that. So if you are an MTA bus, you need to be getting yourself to your division meeting tomorrow. I know that this is not normal. People don't talk about when the meeting times are or what's going on, but this is very important. If you plan on running for office during this election cycle, a 5 p.m. meeting is going to be to your detriment, because you're not going to be able to participate or get the credit for attending meetings. However, there's a little caveat to that though. If you cannot make your 5 p.m. meeting or your 8 p.m. meeting because you are on the bus, excuse me, okay, I'm reading something. But anyway, back to what I was saying. If it doesn't pass if you aren't able to get if you are on your bus when the meetings are happening, all you have to do is email the recording secretary with your times that you were at work, proof that you were at work, and give her the documentation that you were on your bus during this time, and you will get credit for not attending that meeting. And this is for every department. So this works across the board. If you are not able to attend your division meeting because you are at work, the times do not work out where you can make the AM or the PM meetings, all you have to do is email the recording secretary and you will get credit for attending for the meeting because you were at work during that time. Another thing that's happening, if you guys are all paying attention, in MOW, there are a whole bunch of track inspectors who are up for dismissal. Before I made the last video about grievance and discipline, they were not able to have their elected officers, their union officers were not helping them, right? Their union officers were not helping them. And the fact that their union officers were not helping them, they reached out to me for help. And you guys know that Ritu Singala is the attorney that I work very close with. She is diligent. She is a hard worker. She knows our system. And she actually is the one who created the whole design of how we deal with grievance and discipline at 2 Broadway. The system is actually a good system. However, our union has not been doing its due diligence to make sure that the process flows the way it's supposed to. So when it comes to going to 2 Broadway, and most unions, when you go to get to grievance and discipline, you do not have an attorney at the arbitration level. Once you get to arbitration, you're basically on your own. It's just you and your union rep, and you're left up to to see if the arbitrator is going to rule in your favor or not. However, the way our system is set up, is that you have an attorney. So we have actually a very strong infrastructure. However, it's not being utilized. And these men and women who are under investigation by the IG, which an investigation does not mean that you're guilty, which lets you know they're not doing their due diligence. And what they told these men and women is that they cannot, in order for the union to represent them and to help them, that they had to waive their right to have counsel, which violates the fair representation law when it comes to having counsel, right? You have a right to hire your own attorney, your own defense, or whatever. You do not have to use the union's attorneys. We know, even from watching the hearing that's going on right now in the stations department, that the union attorneys do not, for the most part, show up prepared. They do not show up prepared. They do not show up prepared. And although we're paying out $500,000, no matter of fact, it's more than $500,000. We're paying almost $1 million out in legal fees to these lawyers and these attorneys who are supposed to be prepared to represent us. They're not doing it. We're losing on so many fronts. You guys know that what I'm telling you is factual because you're experiencing it yourself. It's a narrative, or that they're trying to say that everything that I'm saying is because it's politically motivated, right? Because I'm running for office. However, I was talking about these things before I was running for office. And not only that, I am an elected officer. I serve on the executive board. I constantly bring you guys e-board reports about what's going on. We're totally compromised within our union structure. So my goal is to inspire you all to act, right? To act, to become, to become aware of what's going on, and the feeling that you feel of not having representation, of feeling like you're by yourself and you're alone when all of these things are happening, to not let it make you despondent, but that it encourages you and it fuels you to do something about it, right? Just like I'm running for president. I would not be running for president of Local 100 if I did not see the need and the call to step up to the plate, because if not, we will not have a union. Right now, we are at a point where transit is now, first of all across our system, all you see is contractors everywhere. In every department, we are inundated with contractors. Even though there is reports by the CPM that shows when we do the work, it is there's less likely for there to be errors, and it doesn't cost them as much when they use inside labor. But why are they trying to do this? Because it does not benefit them. It does not benefit the authority to have to deal with our contract. They don't want to deal with our contract. It's not in their best interest. So because of that, their move to break us is something that they are advancing forward with full speed ahead. Just look at, if you don't believe what I'm saying, pay attention what's happening in the Department of Buses, right? In the Department of Buses, there are part-time bus operator exams. If this goes to where they're able to bring in part-time employees, the Department of Buses will become at-will work, meaning that you're subject to your employer, not your collective bargaining agreement. Totally destabilizing our contract and labor. That's why it's so important that you become involved and engaged, right? That you talk to your colleagues and our fellow coworkers about what's going on, so that people begin to understand that this is a fight for us to protect our bottom line, which is our livelihood, our income. We're already behind on the pay scale of everybody else. And slowly but surely, they're undoing us little by little. So I want you to understand this. Number one, if the IG is doing an investigation, that doesn't mean that the person is guilty, right? It's now that after the IG finishes their report, they have to submit the report. The report is supposed to be made available for review by our local. And what has currently been happening is that they're not, what happened in MOW is that the VP of the department, Chiarillo, remember that name because we voted him out. He's out of here. Okay, remember I told you that. Chiarillo is out of here. Carlos Albert out of here. It's time for a regime change, and we're going to make sure that we make that happen, right? It's time for them to go. They do not have the best interests of the members at heart at all. And their department is reflective of it. One of the things that I'm starting to realize more and more is that because we don't talk to one another, because they've kept us separated, we don't understand that we're all experiencing the same tyranny. The only thing is we're just divided. We don't have an outlet. There's no communication forum for us to come together. But I'm about to change that, because you're going to be hearing from people from MOW, from CED, from every department in the system, giving you feedback on what's going on and what we can do to change that, right? Currently what's going on in RTO is also outrageous. Okay? Eric Logel is doing everything in his power to aid and abet management and the disorganization of our department. The C line is constantly going through another pick. They have an illegal pick happening right now on work trains, which is violating people's seniority. All of these things are happening rapidly, and our union is complicit. Just because management comes and asks for something does not mean that we have to give it to them. It does not mean that we have to give it to them. We were able, because we knew about it in advance, about the whole work train debacle with taking conductors and putting them on the work trains to get that stopped, and the men and women of the department be able to speak up and say something about it in order to get it to stop. But we were not privy to all of the moves that he was making, right? So Eric Logel is constantly undoing our department, undermining the system in the process, undermining our collective bargain agreement, because he knows he will not be reelected as VP. And I believe that he's trying to secure himself a place in management because he does not want to go back to his tools, right? That's one of the sad parts about unionism, is that when people begin to take on these positions, they get comfortable. They get comfortable, and then they forget why they're there and who put them there. The same people that put you there are the same people that's taking you out. And this time, you don't have the powerful voices behind you after he lied to us about being a Black Lives Matter supporter and talking about all of the issues that were happening within transit. And he had, if you go and check his confession before he was elected and what he's been doing after he is elected, it says a lot about the man, okay? And so we have to make sure that people like Eric Logel go back to their tools, Chiarillo back to his tools, and MTA bus, Peter Moscone and his whole little group that he has down there. Everybody has to return back to where they came from, since they don't understand that unionism is about the collective, about people power, about making sure that our collective bargaining agreement is protected at all costs, right? That is what unionism is about. Being prepared when you go into arbitrations and all different types of, and all of the hearings and stuff that we're faced with. Helping the members to understand what is a DAN. All of these things are important. When you come on the job and you're going through, when you show up for your first day of orientation, you should not be greeted by labor relations. You should not be greeted by labor relations. The whole system of the way our union is functioning is broken, and it is corrupt. It is corrupt. And there has to be a review. There has to be a review of how we can get transit out of our organization, right? They pay in, they give us money, we take from them. We have to start to understand that by taking from transit money to help us meet whatever our bills are and our needs, it is hurting us. It's not helping us. They have no business inside of our business. There's no reason why when we show up to meetings, people are greeting people on a first name basis. That's crazy. I'm the only one that's called Ms. Byers. The only one that's called Ms. Byers. Everybody else, hi Tony, hi, even Latanya Chris, they say hi Latanya. They don't have a respect for us. It's wrong. They should not be doing this. They should not be doing this. They should not be greeting us on a first name basis. Familiarity breeds contempt. The more someone is familiar with you, the more content they are when they start to make moves, because they feel like they know you well enough to do what it is that they're doing. So, I don't want to be long, but I just want you guys to be informed and understand what we are up against, right? I want you to understand what we are up against. These next few months and weeks are going to be vital. They're going to be vital. I want all of you who have been pushed to the side, told that you cannot lead, told that you're not needed, to understand that we need you now more than ever before. I need the people that have been pushed to the side, told that they can't they can't run, that they're not necessary, and everything else to begin to come to the forefront, because I'm creating a platform to where together we can bring some real institutional structure to our union. Not having me as your president will be a detriment to this local. I can tell you that. There's no candidate and no one who is preparing in any way to fix the disorganization, the broken infrastructure, and to bring real reform to this local, and to put systems in place to where you will have access to your president, where you will have access to understand how the function of this local is supposed to operate. Under an Evangeline Byers administration, you will have my goal is that one in four people will be a shop steward. We need as many shop stewards as we can possibly have. The more people are educated and informed and understand how this process is supposed to work, the better we are to deal with what we're being inundated with. The more people understand how to use a safety dispute resolution form, not just from me doing a video, but from you actually being instructed and this being a part of your toolbox when it comes to you getting on what you're trained, if you're in MOW, wherever you find yourself in the system. That safety dispute resolution form is to protect you so that when you are asked to do anything unsafe, i.e. working COVID, get on a bus where somebody was just, where you found out that somebody just had COVID and they were the operator on this bus. We have people right now out while I'm talking to you who contracted COVID because someone was sick, the authority knew about it, let the person still continue to work until they got their results. The person is sick, and now all of these bus drivers are knocked out. And not only are they sick, but their children and their family members are as well. So we're in a very desperate situation to get our union back under control. I'm not asking you guys to vote for me right now. I want you to track with me from now until it's time for you to make your decision, to understand who do you want to be your president. Your president is going to be able to help to hold up and put in a structure to where these